And joining me now is David Nelson, Chief Strategist of Belpointe Asset Management. Okay, you've been listening in. What do you make of this?
Look, the leaks were pretty good. A lot of the points that were made in this press conference have been leaked as early as a week ago. It looks like, the headline number is that 35% corporate tax rate goes down to 20. And certainly that was embraced by the market today. You saw the market, in most cases at all-time highs.
Yeah.
And I particularly noted that, small cap stocks and the NASDAQ were really soared today on the news of this.
Were the markets counting on this, that this tax reform plan would go through Congress?
And given that the window is so tight between now and the end of the year and the unofficial start of the election cycle, I think a lot of investors like myself and portfolio managers kind of have written it off, as like it's great rhetoric and we're going to talk about this, but it takes a lot of time. But maybe that's kind of seeping back in, because right now these numbers that would, the boost in the S&P earnings, they're not in this market at this point.
When he talks about the middle class, that he really wants to help the middle class and he wants to boost jobs. When you look at, he's calling this a middle class miracle. How good is this for the average American person?
I think it's good. Look, I support this, and I think we've been at a disadvantage for a pretty long time. It's pretty clear that we're uncompetitive in a lot of areas around the world. And I've heard the rhetoric about the effective tax rate, but he brought up a very good point, the fact that 5,000 companies have actually left this country in the form of inversion to lower tax entities. They've either been acquired or just, offshored. And we have a 77,000-page tax code that encourages corporations to offshore their manufacturing, their cash flow, and in some cases the entire country. So if it means more jobs here, it has to be good news.
The fact that he set his red line for corporate tax is 20% instead of 15, which is where he wanted. What do you make of that?
I think that's a talking point. I think maybe he started at 15 and this is where he really wanted. That's the president, the art of the deal. This is where he wants to go. I'm not even sure that the 20% is really doable. This is going to have to go to Congress. And one of the things I was encouraged by is some of the details are missing here. And it appears to be by design. He wants the committees to weigh in on this. I think he wants the senators and congressmen to actually have some skin in the game here.
So you think that it's a good thing that he's left these details out?
Unknown. It's a great point, because there's going to have to be some offsets here. You're going to have to really bring up some hard issues that lobbyists are going to fight against right here in this state. New York, California, very high tax states. One of the things that are going to be first on the table is the write-off of state and local taxes. That's going to get a hard pushback. The elimination of maybe the write-off of the interest costs for corporations. You can bet real estate and finance, my industry, is going to come out hard against that. And that's maybe the problem, because this 77,000-page code has encouraged or spawned a generation of tax attorneys, accountants, and lobbyists, each pulling for their own constituency. Yeah.
He talked about, he got a great deal of applause in this speech over the death tax, getting rid of that. Is that really going to happen?
I doubt that's going to happen, but I can understand why it happens there. It's farming country there to a large degree. We're talking about families, farm generations. One I heard was 187 years the families owned a farm. It likely hits them hard, but for most Americans, the death tax isn't really an issue.
Democrats are saying if you're going to tax the middle class, make it harder for them, and if you're also going to add to the deficit, we're not in.
That's the rhetoric right now, but there are some senators in Congress out there that this is going to resonate with. I think. Look, we're coming into an election cycle, and that's what's really going to rule here. And I think the dividing rod is really the following. I think if you're for tax reform, you likely believe that if you put this money in the hand of Americans and corporations, you can better grow the economy. If you're not for it, you likely believe that the United States is growing as fast as it possibly can, and government will do a better job in shepherding that money. That's going to be the litmus test as we go into 2018.
So when you're looking at this big picture here on tax reform, where do you see this headed? Is there a sense, you're watching the markets today, where do you see this going? I think we're going to probably meet in the middle. So they're going for 20. But you think it's feasible? You think that, it is so complicated, over 30 years since this has been done. But based on that rough outline we're seeing, not specific details.
My job is to be a skeptic, so the devil's in the details here, and try to get this through. It's going to be pretty tough. We're coming up on 2018. It's going to have to spill over into January and February at the earliest.
David Nelson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.